All right, you guys. After a eventful week where I lost my cool, I'm back at it. I was in New York, as you know, last week, and I had a lot of meetings. Had a great experience with Finger, and then met with other investors and CEOs. Met with the Trento guys. I walked from, let me see if I can turn this a bit. Just move it a bit. Yeah, maybe that's better. I walked from like 65th Street all the way down to 8th Avenue. 8th, I guess it's 8th Avenue. Anyway, I walked, it was a long way from 65 down to 8th for a couple of meetings. And I was on 5th, and then I walked down Madison Avenue for a little while. I was singing Madison Avenue's claim to fame in a trainer bra with eyes like rain. She rubs against the weather-beaten frame and asks the angel for his name. I don't remember how he sings it, and I don't know if he ever really sang it, but it just kept coming in my head. Madison Avenue's claim to fame. All right, I've got to skip that one. I want to show you guys, and we'll do it together. There's been at least one person left the channel. She was very upset with me for pointing out a trade recommendation that was strongly made by a gentleman who has since passed away. I don't think he would mind that I pointed it out. I point out my own mistakes. I made it clear that I think it was coordinated, and I still stand by that, but that doesn't mean that he knew anything about it. Who knows? No one knows. But if you guys and gals, I guess, don't see that the whole market is corrupt and rigged, and you got to see ghosts in every corner, I don't know what to say. Let me show you, just so I can. I want to show you two things. I want to show you the chart of GTII. Can I go over on this side? No, it's kind of weird. I'll go on this side. All right, so this is GTII, and you see here, this is how it traded down. This is how it traded down. Let me just point something out. This only goes back to July of, July of 2000. Maybe I should have gone back a bit further. And I'm trying to remember the dates as I'm speaking to you. Oh, I see. I got it. That's why I'm confused. These dates down here, this is July, but December, the end of the year happens in here. and then the new year starts. So that's perfect. So it's fine. I printed out enough. Now what I want to show you and what I want to explain, I don't know who listens, if there's ever a CEO on here, but what Big Nose Carlos Danger at Power Lending, as soon as he prospected or reached out to David Reichman, and Reichman said, I might be interested, they start selling the stock. They start selling the stock that doesn't exist. They sell stock into existence, collecting cash on an undelivered trade, on an unsettled trade. So when in, I guess, right around here, where my finger is, Reichman signs the document. The document is a convertible note. It's got a VWAP formula. It's got backward-looking formulae, and it is in tranches. So they say, we'll give you X amount, but we're giving you 80,000 now, and we're taking our fees out, and so the par is, let's say, 80,000. That's about right, and we'll give you 63. So if you pay it back, you got to pay back par plus a 25% penalty, and they continue selling the stock. They continue selling the stock, selling the stock, selling the stock. This is allowed not because Ham does it, not because somehow I'm doing it, I'm not. It doesn't happen that unless it's possible, and it's been something I've been thinking about for a while, but it's unlikely that the CEO knew about it. Because when the deal, and by the way, this is so small, I could be pointing at the wrong points. I'm trying to tell you, as soon as one of these pretender lenders gets any indication that you're going to do business with them, or you might be doing business with someone else, they're all the same, they start selling the stock and it drives it down. In the case of Power Up, that puts money in some account that they can release based on the lawyer, Nadich, sending a letter to the prime broker saying, we have this document. Now, Mr. Sincerity, Kurt Kramer, will say, we have to wait 6 months, we have costs, there's risks. In reality, they keep selling. They just keep selling. So they constantly bring in cash. Now, in the case of GTII, right around they took the note out right around here, or started talking about it anyway. And then Reichman bought it back either here or here. It's unclear to me on this chart. Somewhere in the second triangle, he closed out the position. But he was talking about it. There was buying. And then once he bought that back, this buying that brought the stock from, let me just show you what numbers we're talking about. Everything is just to give you some ideas of magnitude. They're not specific. You can look up the charts yourself. But when they got involved, and when the Kramers are shorting, or their clients are, that stock price was under 0.0156. 0.0156. There was a lot of trading. So it's hard to tell how much volume, except when you look over here. Let me do a different color. I'll do orange. Madison Avenue's claim to fame. Okay, do you see that orange line? According to my eyesight and this chart, that orange line is 2 million shares volume in a given day. So on the chart, it doesn't look like there's a lot of volume. Well, it's weird. Yeah, it says 2M. It says 2M. I don't remember a lot of days that hit 2M, but that's what it says here. Yeah. So anyway, it's 2 million. That orange line, it denotes 2 million shares in a day. So the Kramers were selling a lot of stock downward here. And then Reichman intelligently was buying it back, talking to him. I think some people close to the company knew about it, were buying. And then somewhere right around here, January of, here, I'll draw a line there. So we know. It's really hard to tell though. It's really hard to, I'll just draw the line at where they have the start of the new year. The green line is the new year. So, but anyway, sometime in January, February, Reichman bought back the entire toxic note. He paid the 25% premium above par, even though he got less than that. And then, and now, you can check the charts and the dates. I'm trying to do it the most accurately that I can. But it's the concept, not the exact line on the chart. So anyway, this triangle, this pennant, here, you see the yellow line? See the yellow line? That stock price was approximately it was somewhere, but I'd say it was around 9 or 10 cents a share. 9 or 10 cents a share. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Okay, so that's the top yellow line. So what happened then, as you can see, and I will just give it a big circle so you notice it. As soon as Reichman bought in those shares, the stock rallied massively. And that level was basically started at that 9 cents, 10 cents range. I think this must be a weekly chart because, and I'm, it's so small and I'm having a hard time reading everything. But anyway, This caused a complete run-up in the stock. And then it was extremely volatile for the next years. Okay, now I want to show you something in October. Let's see, October through December. It's really actually, it's not so much. Yeah, I want to show you the October. I need another. I just want to highlight this date range. And I run out of artistic things to do. But if you'll see on GTII there, the date range between October and December, you saw that the stock ran up first, quite dramatically. And I would argue that that was the warrant issued as a special dividend. But it also could be that that's where many of you came into the stock. These were the, the sort of the investors associated with Ham et al. And me. I had a lot of investors here. But I would say this is many of the newer investors. But then do you see that where I've tried to highlight with the red arrows? Maybe I need to just draw a circle. You see that circle? That's where the stock collapsed. I think on the way up, the high there, which is hard to read, but we know it by heart, was 897. So the stock basically went from the lows to the highs. From the low to the highs, it was over 100x. I didn't get in at the low, and I didn't sell there. So I'm just pointing out that that was a heck of a trade in retrospect. But, you make your decisions in the moment. For me, I thought that squeeze was happening. We were about to see what a buy-in could do. So that's that chart. I have one more thing to show you from this chart, but that's that chart. And here is COSM. You see the yellow? The earliest yellow is when there was a campaign on Twitter and on the internet to move people into COSM. The second yellow line is where the company did a deal. All the excitement, there was all the rage. It was breaking out. Then the company did a deal with one of the pretender lenders, and who I think was working with I can't prove it, but I think they were working with whoever had the position that the Kramers created. But look at the date. See the dates? That's October to December of 23. This is October to December of 23. Now, people get mad at me for pointing this out. You can go through life trying to be woke and fair and sensitive, but in the stock market, you've got to see what's going on. And either that was a complete coincidence, it was the same gentleman coming on to our internet and Twitterati pages. Maybe it's just coincidence. But I know from this side of the screen that a lot of people were excited, racing to get into COSM. So anyway, that's why I say it. I don't say it to be mean. I don't say it to blame someone else. I wasn't prescient enough to say, this is going to have the impact of the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. I didn't know that at the time. It's obvious in retrospect. Okay, one last thing I want to show you on this graph. And I guess I'll just use a green again. I think this is a weekly chart because, well, I kind of screwed it up. This is the thick pen. I kind of screwed it up. But, well, and by the way, thick pens are okay when you're charting too, because charts are not exact unless you're, trading during the day. But that green line that's going downward, I don't know that that's support. And in fact, when I drew the line with pencil, I believe the stock has broken support to the downside. Now, it's done it before slowly, and it can come back up. But the bear of this chart, the bear of it is that I need another color. And nothing's exact, but those two orange circles I just drew, somewhere in there is the beginning of the trade for most investors. I think some people were buying beforehand. And now it's round tripped. It's just, it did everything. The criminals have won the first round. The key is they keep selling, and Gary Gensler lets them. They sell shares into existence. They don't locate them. They don't deliver them. And even after the note was bought in, they keep selling. And all this selling continued. As a group, we moved over to COSM, so we kind of rang our own bell. But then it just kept selling and selling. And you can see the volume numbers down at the bottom. I took those volume indications as buy-ins, but it looks like there was a lot of counterfeiting. All right, so those are my thoughts on GTII and COSM, and you can see what a great investment COSM was. This guy took, to my memory, $33 million out of the market. And it's been a great deal for his shareholders. It's just, I don't know how much he knew about it. I don't know how much we should expect CEOs to understand what's going on. They got a lot on their hands, but that's a terrible investment. And I remember one guy said, come into COSM when it squeezes, we can come back. Well, on the one hand, in retrospect, we can see that didn't work. I knew it wasn't going to work. yet I got caught up in the hype and bought some, got out right away. Because you never know. With enough buying, anything can happen. That's the thing. This is an art, not a science. But it obviously did squeeze, and that's a point I've made. But it wasn't a good alternative investment. Then again, it was no different than GTII, the same shite, just going down, down, down. Okay, so what I wanna do is give you a little hope. I mean, I don't know. You got to swallow hard and just do it. I'm looking at. I have some charts here, maybe for another video. Okay. Okay, 25 minutes. Wow. Madison Avenue's claim to fame. I want to read to you from an annual report. I think this is the right one. It's hard to see the name of the company. Yeah, Logic. Logic just filed. It's the updated financials for December 2023. They did this last Friday night. They did the updated 2022 on Wednesday. And they also did the quarterly. Let's just see what if there's a summary. Okay. Until November 2nd, 2023, Logic offered solutions that help small to medium-sized businesses provide access and reduce transaction friction for commerce for their clients through the data app business. In January, okay, we got all that. Some of the acquisitions, they spun off GoLogic. Okay, on September 9th, 2022, Logic and the company's wholly owned subsidiary, DataLogic, entered into agreement with Aubrey SPAC, a Delaware corporation, and Aubrey Merger Sub, wherein the Merger Sub will merge into DLQ, the division, and with DLQ becoming the surviving company, a wholly owned subsidiary of Aubrey. At the closing, Aubrey will deliver to the company $114 million worth of shares. Now that worked out and it held there for a long time, sort of $10, $11, even $12 range for a year. They had third-party estimates. Aubrey Advisors has done over 100 of these. They have their investor, Polar, and one other hedge fund. There was another group of advisors, Chadron, involved. So they say here, I don't know if they say it here. Let me just make sure. Intellectual property. They had a senior financing facility for collective audience. They had to increase the numbers of shares. They had many amendments between Aubrey and the company. Okay, so at December 31, 2023, the company completed the distribution and spinoff. And so Logic no longer owns DataLogic. But on November 2nd, 2023, the merger was completed and the merger agreement was successfully closed. Well, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. In connection with the completion of the merger, the company issued 3.7 million shares to the company. The combined company to the company. But anyway, point is, on November 2nd of 2023, they did the de-SPAC. Now, Aubrey Advisors, in their capacity as sponsor, either were not able to raise enough money to give Logic some cash to go through the next few months, or they decided they either didn't care or they decided it wasn't necessary, and they were blindsided after doing 100 de-SPACs to find that the market would sell the stock off. Okay, so the de-SPAC of Logic, of the Data Logic and Logic, left this shell company called Logic, LGIQ. The selling in that stock, because of what I think was a completely miserable de-SPAC, and it shows that Aubrey Advisors really got caught flat-footed. Logic shares went to I don't know the low, I should know, but they went under a penny briefly. So the shares sold off. They went from around 20 cents in a straight line to under 2 cents. That's because of that de-SPAC. And then you wonder, well, why didn't they do the reverse merger that they had talked about? They had put press releases out. They updated shareholders about. Well, that absolutely disastrous de-SPAC, which Aubrey Advisors, they're good guys. They obviously, after having done 100 of these, they put one of their junior new hires on the project, maybe, but whatever. They just didn't foresee what was coming, or they were complicit in it. Anyway, that collapse ended in the middle of November. The stock rallied, and then it came back down toward the end of December. That left the company having to do it as a shell in a reverse merger. What the newly acquired company wants is a clean shell. So that means they have to do all their filings, they have to do all their financial reporting. As it turns out, as we found out on Wednesday, they had to restate their 2022 numbers for the distribution of GoLogic. But because these numbers because they didn't have any money, it was in Aubrey Advisors' best judgment to leave Logic with no money, or they didn't have the capability of raising the money. Aubrey, you know how backwards it is? Aubrey's clients, which the main one is Polar, did not mind raising in the last minute $5 million to pay the lawyers $2.5 million, as I understand it, and to pay, I think it's Chadron Financial, it might be themselves, but to pay the financial advisors $2.5 million, with no money going toward improving the company. This is back-assward as to how I've raised money for companies for years, decades. There's no investor that wants to raise money and have it pay off lawyers and financial bills. Any savvy investor wants the money to go toward achieving the next milestone, and paying off the lawyers and the finance guys can be delayed. But again, in Aubrey Advisors, great guys, in their best judgment, the thing to do was to raise $5 million to pay the lawyers and pay the finance guys and leave Logic with no money. So Logic continued to negotiate. Everybody was shell-shocked. All hands on deck at CAUD, management changes, talking to investors. The people at Logic basically left, leaving a skeleton crew. But they don't need much management. It's just a shell. So they got to do that reverse merger. Well, here's the Logic chart. And you can see that where I drew a yellow circle, and then it goes straight down to 2.5 cents. That's where Aubrey Advisors did their expert best as a sponsor of Aubrey SPAC. This is the Logic part, and then there was the CAUD part. And in both cases, I would rate Aubrey Advisors' performance as poor. Now, they have 2 board members on the board of CAUD. But anyway, here we look at this. So what's happened? Friday, they announced that they restated all the 2023. They did the fourth quarter. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, the third quarter ending September 30. They were behind on that. So now Logic is completely caught up on its filings. It's a clean shell again. It doesn't reflect yet. They haven't lifted that warning on OTC markets, but that'll come. But what's the next thing to come? The next thing to come is now they can do the reverse merger. And let's just one last time look at these prices. Do you see all those lines? Do you see that circle right there? That's the gap when Aubrey Advisors did their expert best. And you know what that number is? I drew the line over, not clearly not in a straight line. It's 15 cents, right where I drew that over. Then up those 3 peaks? That's 70 cents. And then of course there's the other numbers in between. That I drew right here, I drew where I think there could be resistance, and that crosses at okay, so that gives the targets on the way up. If it breaks out of, say, 4 cents, right here, it's been trading sideways. If it breaks out of the 4 cents, I think this is the first stop, second stop, this one, although my line's a little crooked. And then I think those 3 peaks can be your target, or this area in here. So Logic is 4 cents. It's below it. I think the next target is maybe 6 cents. Then there's a target around 10 cents. None of this is meant to be exact. Around 10 cents. I don't see either of those numbers providing much resistance. The gap, I think, needs to be filled at around 15, 16 cents. And there might be a pause right after that, just because they've achieved that number. But then I would say 20 cents to 25, maybe 30 cents, that range, 20, 25, 30. There's a lot of this right here. That's all of this resistance here. If it got through 30, I would say 70 cents. But anyway, I'm not sure we'll be in it for that long. Okay, so the Logic has done their filings. The chart, I think, is setting up. Oh, this is something upside down. That's a reverse head and shoulders. Almost. Shoulders, head, shoulder, and then boom. You could look at it as it's not really a double bottom, but it's I don't know what pattern one would call that. I don't know what to call it. I just see it. I'll show you. You've got, boom. And that's bullish. That's bullish. So anyway, enough on the chart. Now it's already 40 minutes. Wow. I want to give you the whole reason why I'm showing you this. We've been waiting forever for the restated filings, and we have not really heard anything on the reverse merger. But there were several candidates over the last months, according to interviews, according to information, and there were candidates announced in the press, I think 2. So it's highly unlikely, as these companies want to take advantage of the public markets for some reason. They're all corrupt. It's highly likely that reverse merger deal is in place. So when Logic restates the 22 numbers, reports it, restates, catches up on the quarterly, and restates and actually finalizes the 2023 numbers, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. So what I want to do, just sort of, I didn't prepare it on purpose because I want to logically work it out with you. I was looking for a better word than logic. And I don't think I'll do this for myself because I've already owned Logic, but I reserve the right to do it. I don't know. This is for those of you who are sick of GTII. You're mad, you feel helpless, you feel like you're never going to make money again. According to this chart, and it didn't quite show it, and I'm going to use this number. GTII, you could get out of it 12 cents. I have a feeling now that it's down, it could go lower. But let's just say you get out at 12 cents. Now let me emphasize, according to that chart, as this stock has been in these numbers before, there have been sharp snapbacks. I just don't see any reason why it's going to do it. That 2 or 3 years ago, it was a group of investors. And then it was many of you maybe in October. It was that warrant as a special dividend. But now, who are the investors going to come in? There's more stock out. And I've gone through it. I just think it's going to take time. What could be the surprise? Well, a group of investors could decide we're going for it. The Alpine could be expelled, and those shares have to be bought in. And then all these other big investors could say, smell blood, and run it up. So there is a risk, if you sell it, that you miss what we were in it for, which is one of these catapults to new highs caused by buy-ins. But I just want to show you how you don't have to be a victim. You don't have to sit and feel hurt. You can act. If you were to sell GTII at 12 cents, you could buy, let me see where Logic closed. And the problem is, of course, it says 4 cents on as a roundup. Let's just use 4 cents, even though I think you can buy it at 0.037. Let's just use 4 cents. Okay, so you could sell GTII at 12. You buy Logic at 4. And this isn't financial advice, it's just an exercise. You could buy Logic at 4. So what you're doing effectively if you call it units, ink's dry, the ink is black, the page is white. Together we learn to read and write, read and write. Okay, so you're exchanging 1 unit of GTII for 3 units of Logic, right? If, you know, roughly, if you get that accomplished. So what does that mean over the next, let's just say, 45 days. That's my, look, it's a prediction. I think this will all happen in 45 days. The ink is black. It's empty. The ink is empty. All right. So, 45 days. What I think's gonna, first I'll do Logic. These are predictions, not promises. Next week, I predict that it's announced next week, the reverse merger. Now, it could be the week after that. It could be the week after that. But what I'm saying, the urgency is, that's a better way to say it. It could be as early as next week. That's a better way to say it. Now, what happens in that situation? That I will show you. And these are all back of the envelope. These, I've shown them to you before, but let's do it quickly. There's 250 million shares. Potential. I don't know exactly how many are out. There's 250 million shares of Logic. Could be 240 or whatever. There were a lot less, but in Aubrey Advisors' skill and wisdom, they left Logic with Zippo. So how do you pay for the 2 years? How do you pay for it? Okay, and then bills and anyway, let's just go with the full amount. Let's just go with the full amount. Now, the numbers which Brent mentioned on 2 interviews here, but that the CEO, but then on releases like Privco a year ago, I think was 250 million. And then the company that I think was released, or at least it was said in interviews, was at least double that. And then what was expressed is, I don't remember the number. I don't remember if it was 12 or 20, But many companies had come to logic because the IPO market has been difficult. These teams want to float and be able to, liquidate their ownership, monetize their hard work. So the numbers I remember hearing is somewhere between 500 million and as high as 800 million, maybe higher, would be the acquiring company for the reverse merger. Let's just use 500 million. That's the low end of the range that was given. And remember, they let the Privco deal expire, which was 250 million. That's all in the press releases. And the share count at least doubled. So to me, you wouldn't let that one expire unless you have a better deal. Because the share count increased, to me, a better deal would be defined by what it's worth per share. At least one way of looking at it. You could argue in between. So in this example, I'm assuming that it doubled, the value doubled. And I think that's conservative, but we'll find out. The announcement, I have no idea what it say, will not only announce what's happening as they announce, it'll probably lay out some indication of what's going to happen over time. But anyway, let's use 500 million. And so the reverse merger candidate that's coming into Logic, let's assume it's worth 500 million. And then the shareholders of Logic, me, you, we get 10% of that. The range can range from, I think Brent said on the interview, from 10% to 15%. So we'll use the low end. And his interview's out there. You can listen to it. Yeah, I mean, it's from months ago. But what I remember him saying is 10%. And I asked him, well, could it be more? But let's just use 10%. So that's $50 million. Is the value of the company. Right now it's a shell. It has no value really, other than it's clean. It has the value as a reverse merger. So anyway, $50 million is the starting valuation of the new co, whatever it is. Now, there are two risks. One is that the valuation is not accepted by Wall Street. And secondly, that the new management is just like management maybe, their board is infiltrated with one or two people that represent the short sellers, or they take a note from the short sellers. Those are risks I can't tell because we just have to go with it and see what the announcements are. I can't tell. And I guess the other risk is there'll be the fudsters out there. Okay. So what is 50 million, which is 10% of 500 million, divided by 250 million shares? I'll give you that number in red. Out of the gate, Logic's share value should be 20 cents a share. Given my assumptions, I took all the low end of the range. I mean, this 500 could be bigger. I suppose one other risk I just thought of is maybe it takes a while for the company to get to that value. That's possible. But anyway, we'll find out with the announcement. But 20 cents a share. Let's just use that. I think it could be 25, 30, 35 cents a share, but let's just use 20 cents a share. Now, the 250 million, and I'm not going to extrapolate it for the whole company. The 250 million shares because there's a 1 for 50 reverse split, the 250 million shares are going to be 5 million. Now that means the new co will have a lot more shares than 5 million. If this is 10%, that would imply 50 million shares of the new co. But anyway, let's just focus, because it doesn't matter what the new co does. It doesn't matter what the shorts, if they want to try to short Logic, because Logic doesn't need any more money. It's just a matter of we own our percentage of Logic, and however many shares, and then Logic becomes a percentage of this new NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, I hope it's New York Stock Exchange company. Now, another way of stating that just quickly is the 20 cents as a NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange company becomes a $10 stock. And it's probably more than a $10 stock. It becomes a $10 stock. That company will, and we'll find out, that company will likely have revenue, a strategy, a team, and possibly its own institutional investors. It'll clearly have its own investors. And those, to the extent it has insiders, they may not be able to sell right away. So we're going to have this 10% of that company. My point about that, I don't think any short's going to want to short that down. Or if they do, I'm not telling you to buy into this and hold, unless, of course, the news is really dramatic. What I'm saying is it's a trade. So if they do start successfully shorting it down because of the couple of risks I said, we'll be long gone. All right, so finally, well, not finally, one more thing about the Logic situ, and then finally, I think it could be as soon as this week. Logic's trading for 4 cents. The announced value is 20 cents, I'm going to guess, or higher. It's not a guess. It's a reasonable estimate based on all the conversations, all the news releases over the last year and almost year and a half. So I ask you this, why is the stock down here? Obviously, it was a busted D-SPAC. I also think there were short sellers. Now, there may have been legitimate short sellers who said, hey, it's just a shell. There could be aggressive counterfeit short sellers too. But I ask you, if they announce a 20 cents value, is this stock going to go down from 4 cents, stay at 4 cents, or go up? I'll do my own unofficial poll. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, an unaudited poll. 5%. All right, I'll say you. I'll give you my poll. I've checked with you, and here's the poll. Once it's announced, the stock will go down. The poll says, survey says, 5% of you answered that'll go down. 10% of you, it'll stay at 4 cents. And a whopping 85% of you said it would go up. Up. All right, so how high could it go up? And then we'll get to the final point, and I'll sign off. Refreshing our chart here, if it breaks 4, I think 5, 9, 10.5, and I think 15 for sure, because that's where the gap is. And then all day long, somewhere between 20 and 25 cents, 30 cents even. 20 to 30 cents actually on this. That's where all the congestion is. I'll circle the congestion in green. Okay, so the congestion is 20 to 30 cents. I think on the way up, it could go first 5, sort of 9, 10 range. And then I think where that yellow circle is 15 to 16. I think it's logically there. And then I'd say 20 to 25, 30 cents. If it gets to those highs, that's around 70 cents, those 3 highs. But I doubt we're going to be in it that long. So, final thoughts on what's turning out to be a long video. But I didn't promise you no rose garden. Okay, right now we have 1 unit at 12 cents. If you make the shift, it's worth 3 units at 4 cents. Does that make sense? Right now we have 1 unit at 12 cents. If we swap out, we have 1 unit at 12 cents. If we swap out, we get 3 units at 4 cents. Okay. In this example, if the 3 units go, in my opinion, the most likely place is to fill that gap at 16 cents. But let's just use 12 cents, okay? If the 3 units go to 12 cents, we've swapped 1 unit of 12 cents. And yes, we risk that we're going to miss out on the a potential squeeze, but we've been at so long. But I think the survey said 85% chance of going up. I think that's what it is, 85% chance of going up, 95%. So anyway, we turn 1 unit at 12 cents into 3 units at 12 cents. And I think that time frame is, sorry, somebody's coming up there, but I think that time frame is within 45 days, maybe a lot less. So another way of saying it is we turn we turn 12 cents into 36 cents. What can we do now? We can take the 36 cents and buy 3 times in 31 days. We can buy 3 times the amount of GTII. We could just keep the difference, just keep it. we could go buy something else, or we could buy back GTII 1-for-1 in 31 days and keep 24 cents in our pocket. Okay, fine. Let me just show, playing with these numbers. By doing this trade, it would be like GTII over the next 45 days going to 36 cents. And you have to ask yourself, do you think that's going to happen? Do you think that's going to happen? I mean, I'm not saying it won't, but it's just odds. Now, what's the advantage of taking losses in GTII? And I've been talking about this since last August. If you take your loss, there's two ways to do it. You can buy more now, this is not about this video, but one thing you could do is buy more GTII now and sell the original position in 31 days. Therefore, you don't risk being out of any potential short squeeze, but you do in 31 days by selling the first position, you're able to take advantage of your losses. And the negative of my strategy is you lose your long-term status. That is a negative. Capital gains when Biden is reelected or reselected will be 44%. Capital gains taxes. The state, I don't know what state you're in, let's just call it 6%. So 50% of any gain you have in the future will be taken by the government. And I don't think it matters who is president. If they let Trump get in, I think he will keep it down, but anyone else, it'll go up. So taking tax losses is extremely valuable, extremely valuable. You can deduct, I mean, maybe they'll change that, but if you don't have taxable gains, you can deduct 3,000 of your loss, first short term, then long term. You can deduct 3,000 every year off your income taxes. And that's probably worth $1,000 a year in your pocket. So those are two ways. I really didn't mean to be on this long, but I'm trying to be, as you know, I got over the top to be polite. I was a complete jerk to also describe it more politely than it was. But what I was reacting to is that we don't have to be victims, but we have to face facts. That was our trade. It was up 100%, as it turns out. But then we've fought hard. We've stayed in there. And the Kramers kept selling. Alpine kept selling. They got the hit and runsters. But the number one thing, the regulators didn't care. FINRA wanted to expel Alpine, and it was specifically stated in the filings by NSCC that Alpine was deficient because of a large GTII short position. But nobody wanted to make it buy back. This last dividend strategy is being met with excuses and stonewalling, and they're just getting the price down. Is it over? I can't predict what's going to happen, but I think this is a bullish pattern. I think this is the single best trade I have out there when you measure it by certainty of going up. The survey said it would go 85% that it would go up. It's not the best, it's not the most exciting trade if you're looking for, it could squeeze a little bit, but I'm not expecting that. So it's not, logic is not a trade to catch a 100% squeeze over the next 45 days. But I do think and I don't know, I'm using that time frame. It could take longer. But in my judgment, when they announce, and I think it's when, not if, when they announce the finalization of a new co coming into the shell, we will have to study what they say. I'm sure they'll be able to talk about it then. But I think logic goes from 4 cents to some number. Even if it went to 8 cents, you're doubling your money. If it went to 12, 3x. If it went to 16, 4x. And could it go to 20? Could it go to the value that I calculated? Maybe. That's 5x. What is GTII going to do in that time frame? 45 days. Let's call it 60 days. What's GTI going to do in that time frame? So it's not a magic wand. It's not all at once you make your money back. But what it is, and I'm facing this in my own accounts, having to come up with strategies that turn a little money that used to be bigger, turn a little money into something bigger, and then you've got that bigger number, turn that into something bigger, and hopefully get back to a level that, in retrospect, I should have accepted. I'm just talking for myself. I should have accepted for my GTII shares, but I didn't know at the time. If you take 1,000 and you turn it into 3,000, and the next transaction, you take 2,000 of it and you turn it in, it goes up 3 times, it's 6,000. And then the next time, you take maybe 5,000 of it and it goes up 3 times, it's 15,000. And one more concentrated effort, you take 10,000 of that and you put it in one more trade, and let's say it goes up 15 times. That's 150 grand. And then you spread that out, maybe. But each time along the way, you're putting a little money in your pocket. It's not as exciting as making it all in one stock, but that's not where we are, unfortunately. GTII did not work. I think it's all definitional. It went up 100x, but that wasn't what we were looking for. And I do believe there's a lot of stock out there that's been counterfeited. Why? Because it's in court documents. But I think the criminal element has it under control for now. And anyway, I've gone on and on about in other videos about that. I think in my opinion, GTII is dead money. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Is it foolish to be out for 31 days as it skyrockets? Maybe. Sure. But I see it going sideways. And even if it were to go up, how high does it go? 10 cents? Let's say it's 10 to 12 right now. Does it go up 10 cents? Maybe 20, 22? Well, if you've taken this stock up to 30 cents, well, that's not. the way to express it. If you tripled your money in this stock or quadrupled it, you could still come back and buy GTII and have cash left over. Anyway, that's my boring idea. I think it's not only important, but very valuable. In the future, capital gains will be 50%. I think it's highly likely that the next president and Congress will all be Democratic or will be uniparty. It'll all be uniparty. We are going to war. I've talked about that. It makes people mad, Ukraine, Middle East. But whatever side of any of those issues you're on, we're going to war. We're in war. And we got to pay for that somehow. But we're not going to pay for all of it. We're just going to print money too. When everything else fails, Gerald Celente says, they take you to war. All right, I'm going to end it there. Long video, so happy Saturday morning. May a puppy dog come up to you and wag her tail and wiggle her body and sniff your nose and lick your cheek. We will talk to you later. I might try to do one more video today, but catch you later.